Here's the next project. This kind of goes along with my last project where I closed off a basement window in my shop. So it's just a wall now. But what I've wanted is to have a way to be able to spray paint small items in my basement shop without having all the fumes from the paint stay in the house here. So what I need is an exhaust fan, so I have an area where I can spray paint stuff and the fumes immediately get evacuated out. Now, if you haven't seen the video where I block off the window, that's when I put the duct through the wall. Maybe watch that one. It was just before this one. It's titled Removing a Basement Window, I believe. Okay. Well, this is the hood that I'm going to use, and you might recognize this. It's just a regular exhaust hood that was above our stove when we moved in here. We put in an over-the-range microwave, and it has its own exhaust hood built into it. So we took this out of here, or out of the kitchen. So then I'm looking at this and thinking, I think I can use this. So let's get right to it. You're watching On the Mark with Mark. I have these brackets here, and today what I need to do is I need to drill a couple holes in these brackets, and they're kind of rusty and kind of scabby looking, so I'm going to run these through my blasting cabinet and get a nice coat of primer on here and some decent paint. But before I do that, I want to drill all the holes in it so that I don't scuff up my paint later when I'm trying to mount this thing. So I can see right where my holes need to go. So let's drill some holes. Got all my holes drilled there and out there. Now let's go to the blasting cabinet. Most of the scale off of them, cleaned up nicely. I think I might round some of these corners off on the grinder so I don't end up dragging my arm across it sometime and getting myself cut up. Well, here it is mounted on the piece of plywood that's going to go up in where the window opening was. So it's a lot easier for me to get everything ducted at this time while it's laying here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of these, not sure what you call this kind of a nut, but it'll go in from the back side, and then there'll be a machine screw going through this part. So there's no way this can pull through the plywood. So it won't just be a wood screw going in there. Down here I will put a wood screw because that's just got pressure on it. An issue I'm having right now is if I would have just measured where this was, left and right, and moved my hole over a little ways, I could be just about done. It needed to go about maybe 3 inches that way. But now I'm going to have to come up with some way of turning this corner. I've got 90 here, but then I need to go like another 45 in the opposite direction. So I've got that. So I think I'm going to need to buy another one of these, or I'm gonna sleep on this and see if I can come up with a better idea. There may be another way. There may be a piece of flexible that's fireproof that I could find acceptable. I kind of doubt it, but maybe there is. I might look for that. But I got this mounted on here, and I cut off about a good 3/4 of an inch so that I could keep it down lower so I have more room to make my turn here. Plus, I'm looking to try to keep the whole hood slid up here as far as possible, as it's coming out a little bit lower than what I would have really liked. This got located up and down based on where that, I don't know what it's called, an abscussion, got mounted so that it was laying over the previous piece of siding, so that any water that got back behind there would get immediately lifted to the outside of the siding where it could drain away. So that's why it is where it is, up and down. But really, there wasn't a whole lot more to go with. So let me ponder this for a while. We'll see what I come up with. So, opportunity for greatness. Well, greatness came up and whizzed right past me. And I did find some flexible duct, and I've got it pulled in just about as tight as I can. And I had this mounted on the plywood before it got mounted over in the window opening, and it does fit with this, with the bracket mounted in the mounting points on it. So that part is taken care of. This goes through. Now what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to seal up all around here with some of the tape. You can kind of see it here. There's a foil type duct tape that seals things up pretty good. Probably cover up some of this too. But what I'm working on right now is the filter side. This has a kind of filter. I don't really think it's going to be good enough. But what I want to do is I just want to have an inexpensive furnace filter that covers this up. So this is going to get covered with overspray from paint, and then there'll be a way that I can take this out and replace it. And I thought it might be nice if I actually made it the same size as the filters for my house, so that way I could just use, the same filters. I usually buy a bundle of the filters, so I'll be able to just snag one when I need one over here in the shop, and then I'll still have them for my furnace. So what I don't want to just mount this on the bottom like that, although wouldn't that be nice? Because it'll just get filtered right here because it would be right up against this. But if I leave this away a little bit, and I thought I might try to do an angle, then there would become an entire plenum behind the filter that there would be a vacuum being drawn on, and that way more of this surface would actually be filtering the air. So I need to come up with some brackets. I'm probably going to use some wood, and I'll mount it in there. And then I want to come up with, this is going to come in and then go into a slot. So it'll slide up into a slot and then come back down into a slot. So the slot on the bottom might be as deep as this cardboard, but the one up here on the top will be like twice as deep as this. So it can go up and it can slide in and then fit into the hole and then still not fall out. And I suppose I'll grab it from the inside like that in order to be able to do it. The other thing is this needs to not be clear up here in the top like that. My original idea was this had a light fixture right here, and it was a light bulb. And I thought, well, that's great. We can use some extra light in this area. But if I'd have to get a really small filter to leave that part, to leave that light exposed. So I've decided to just do away with that. And then I found this really nifty little LCD light. So I'm going to mount it up here as far up this direction as I can. And then the filter will be somewhere in this neighborhood. So hopefully plenty of light will be shining down, not in my eyes because it'll be shrouded by this. Um, I'll be able to get good light on my spray paint project. And what I want to do is I'm going to cut this cord off and I'm going to mount it in, or I'm going to wire it so that the controls on the front of this hood still operate this light like they did originally. I did my best to clean all of the cooking grease or whatever else, got on this hood. But this is as good as it's going to get. It's not sticky anymore. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's probably going to get a lot of oversprayed paint on it. But what I've got here is, this is my new light. So that is now, I've got it mounted on here. I have the areas where I can run screws into it from the top. I'm gonna drill some holes and then I'm gonna run some self-tapping screws, very short screws, into the frame of this light. Let me plug this in. You gotta see this light. Look at that. That is gonna be some decent light in here. So I should be able to see when I'm spray painting what's going on. So I'm real happy with how that is. Well, I've got this thing wired up with my new light here, and I've just wired it up to a cord here. So this is an old vacuum cleaner cord. It's got quite a bit of length to it. It's not grounded, which doesn't thrill me, but it wasn't grounded before either. Turn on the light. Got the light going, so that's on the switch from the front. And then here's the fan. The fan is a variable speed fan. When I first turn it on, it'll come on high, and then I can turn it to slow. There's slowing it way down. And then I can speed it up and shut it off. It's got a funny buzz to it right now because the duct is just blowing right into the workbench here, and so the fan can't actually push like it's supposed to be able to. So all I need to do now is remount this little cover plate that covers all the wiring here, and the wiring portion of this project is finished. Kind of hooks on a little piece of metal there. And then I got these two nuts. Okay, these aren't nuts, these are sheet metal screws. So that seals up all the electrical connections there. So now it's wired and I'll have a nice light. I need to come up with a mount for my filter. I have made a lot of sawdust and a lot of crazy cuts, and here's what it's looking like so far. I had to add a little bit of a spacer to the back to match up my brackets, and I'm around the sides. I hear you, Shelley. And there it is with the light on. Of course, this is just sitting down low, but it's going to be up higher. So let me tip this up. So there's how it's looking right now. You got a bit of a step in it right there. And so this is where I want the filter. See, it's going to fit right in between here. And I've got a slot cut in up here. See if I can get it there, right there. So now I need to build a similar thing to this slot here, down here on this side. And I should have done that before I screwed these on. It's like I am not going to cut these wings off here. This is where I'm going to have some disposable cardboard sides that will kind of keep the overspray sort of contained here. So it'll probably lean up against that and then across the back and across the bottom. But that's where I'm at so far. it's not going too bad. I had to make a lot of crazy cuts in there, and I think I'm going to come in here with the silicone and seal up around all these corners so that all of the air has to come through the filters. So we'll see how that goes. It's a pretty good night's work. There's just a piece down here I've got to make, and then on the sides they make this tape that's like a foam that's maybe 1/4 of an inch thick. It's a real soft foam. I'm going to add that to the sides. So right now, see, there's a little bit of a gap. Well, that foam will be in there. That'll provide just a little bit of friction and help seal up the sides so that not too much air just escapes around. So that's the idea for that. Here is how it's going to work. Now, it slides up here and then pulls out. I put a pencil mark on here so I could see how much engagement I still ended up with. So you go up through here, comes down, and sets right in there. So that's the way I've got it right now. Now the thing I did here, this is just a bunch of stacked up pieces in order to get the shape that I need. And I think I'm going to trim this little bit off right here in case I need to be able to set this in case I need to be able to set it in past and pull it up and then come back out and then set it down. Because I'm not sure how much extra room I'm going to have when it gets mounted on the wall, because it comes down to the window sill. So I may not be able to hold the filter down that far. So I'm going to just trim off that little bit of a extra right here, and I think that will take care of it. This I just tacked together just for a quick fit to see if it's actually going to work. Now let's see how the filter fits now. What I'd like to be able to do is put it all the way in and then slide it up into the slot. Yes, and then pull it back. There we go. Now it clears. Okay, so I can bring it in like this, set it in there, or I can bring it in like this, slide it up, and pull it back and slide it down into there. So gravity and the fan itself will kind of hold it in there. So we got the light here, and now let's run the fan. It did kind of sucked in a little bit there. It's blowing through or sucking through here. The only thing we have left is I want to put the foam along the edge here. Here's my foam. Okay. Now my original plan was to put this foam on both sides. Here's a sample of it, and it's too stiff to do that. But I think, I mean, it's not my first choice, but I think with it just on one side, here, watch this. Oh gosh, there is still a gap. Let me think about this. Let's get this up here. Push it down. Boy, it is so close. It's just, I think that's going to get it. This is going to be nice. All right, let's test this. You might have heard me mention in an earlier video that there's a problem with this type of fan. This has got a light in it and a fan. I may be upgrading this fan. I haven't decided yet. To start with, I'm going to use it. I know there's some issues with that. And using it for spraying through it because the propellant in a spray can is flammable. And with this kind of fan, the air goes through, and part of the purpose of that air is cooling the motor. Well, the motor, of course, is in there, and it makes sparks. So it can be enough to ignite that propellant from the spray cans. Can. Does that mean it will? I don't know. I kind of think that there's got to be the correct balance of an air and fuel mixture there. Now, maybe it's always enough, it just needs a little bit of fuel. I don't know, but I'm going to test it. If I can get this thing, if I can spray some spray paint around this thing and I don't see any flames coming out of there, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, if flames come shooting through, well, that might be kind of exciting. Then actually I have a different fan. I might not. I might modify it and put this other fan in there. It's a squirrel cage fan, which has the air just goes through the fan instead of right past the motor. So let's take this thing outside and see if we can make some flames. I think I'll wait till dark. That way, if it's just a little bit of flames, we'll still be able to see it for sure. So this could be exciting. So here we go outside. Oh my gosh, it's a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. Here we go. Right there. I'm set up out here on the driveway, and of course, there's kind of a mist in the air, so not really raining, but things are wet. I've put down this sheet of cardboard because I'm just going to be spraying under here, and I don't want spray paint on my driveway, so it'll end up on this cardboard. So let me get you in a little bit better position, and we'll run this test. I'm going to be down here like this, spraying. Let me see if this can's any good. Yeah, that'll work. I'm going to move you guys around to the back side so you can see if anything comes out of the exhaust port. Okay, so you're watching right here. I'm going to turn the fan on, and then I'm going to spray paint underneath of here and see if anything happens up there. So I'll turn the fan on high. Okay. Oh yeah, we got a good breeze coming out of there. Here we go. I don't think anything came out of there. All right, now just to verify that this is actually flammable, I'm going to shoot some of this. Yes. Okay, so this paint is flammable, so it's not like it's something else that won't burn. So let's see what else we could try here. How about some carburetor cleaner? That stuff is really flammable. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, there it is. Pretty flammable. Let's shoot some of that through this hood and see if we get any flames that way. Fan on. Still nothing. If I can shoot paint through this and it doesn't flame up, and if I can shoot that flammable carburetor cleaner through there and I don't get any flame, I think it's the air-fuel mixture is not exactly right in order for that spark to happen. And I'm going to install this the way it is with the fan like that, even though they say not to. Worst case, this is going to go into a metal duct and it won't be able to catch anything on fire. So I'm not going to worry about it. Well, that was my outdoor test of the hood. And don't assume all fans are equal. If you're doing one of these hoods or some kind of an exhaust hood system, you need to test your own fan. Don't go by what I did. I'm taking the chance here. I'm not taking a chance with your stuff. I'm confident that this is going to work fine for me. I said earlier that it's all in metal, and that's not exactly true because I am going to put that blast gate in there, and that thing is plastic. So that could, I guess, melt, maybe catch on fire. I don't know. I don't think that it could really get past the metal because it's inside the metal tube also. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, that was some pretty flammable stuff I put in there. You saw how, I could just shoot it in the air. That stuff catches on fire. And I sprayed and I just soaked that cardboard. I left that cardboard outside. I mean, it really reeked. And there was a lot of fumes coming off of that after I sprayed it. And I let it sit there for quite a while. And I didn't see anything. So you're wondering, what about that thumbnail with the flames shooting out there? Well, I kind of faked you out there a little bit. You know how in Mythbusters, they always come up with something, can a lift going over the edge catapult somebody through the air? And then in the previews, they always show somebody flying through the air. Well, after I couldn't get this thing to shoot flames out of it, I just shot the flames straight through there. It made for a good thumbnail, don't you think? Clickbait. I'm sorry, I know. But I was having some fun with the fire, so that's good. I'm going to put up the hood now. So I have everything ready up here. I just need to bolt it on, and then I'll be 95% done with this project. This is how it is. So I'm going to make a cardboard back and some sides here. And then I guess I'll just use this shelf here. We got a light, so that's decent. I have a small turntable, homemade, so I can set that here and turn parts so that I don't have to touch them when they're wet. So that's nice. Let's try the fan. There it is. I don't really feel much air movement. Let's get some smoke. I'm going to be able to make some smoke here. I put up a black background so that we could see the smoke a little bit better. Now, my phone has some ability to cancel out the noise of this fan. So when I turn it on, I guarantee you it's still making noise. But you'll hear the fan for just a little bit and then it gets canceled out. So I still hear the fan. Let me blow this out and we'll watch the smoke. That is getting sucked right up in there. Nice. This is the last bit I needed. Got this all taped up. It's just cardboard. This little box is going to fit. It just sits right there. And put my little turntable in there. And we've got that. I also, while I was at it, I cut up a bunch of blanks. So I'm set for when I decide these have been painted too much, I can then replace them with these. So I'll just have these standing by, ready to go. That's pretty neat. I really like that. So I had that blast gate closed. Holy crap, how'd I do my smoke test? Shoot. Well, I am set up with a small paint booth now. The nice filter on it and an exhaust fan that goes right out through the wall. So I don't have to smell any spray paint fumes from now on, really. And, you know, it comes on high, and then this is variable speed. So as it dries, I could slow it down a little bit. You know, it's just getting a little bits of fumes coming off of it. So that's kind of cool too. This is the part where I ask you to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Sorry about faking you out about those flames, but it still was kind of cool. I'll throw in the sort of the outtakes on when I was shooting that. So if you liked this video, maybe hit that like button. Also, if you see there's, you know, a real big problem or there's something flawed about my test, go ahead and put it in the comments. Not only myself, but I think other people who are looking at this thing and are concerned about the explosion or fire that this could cause, I think they'd like to read that. So I'll post all the comments unless somebody just decides to get insulting. I'm going to do that. But otherwise, we'll put all the comments up here. Thanks for watching.